Joey Magidson, Awards Radar.
Okay, you can
Hello,
start.
sir.
Oliver Stone.
There you go. I know. How are you?
Hi, Joe. You have like 15 people around you
I
to
know.
protect you here. So
I know. Or
it's,
you.
it's very
One of us.
bureaucratic.
Yeah, one of us needs protecting. I don't know who. It's a pleasure. I don't know how often you get this, but I really love talk radio.
Finally, somebody talking about something else.
There you go. No,
That's great. That's
I
great.
I wanted to be on the radio in college. That was my initial dream, and it was like there's no movies about the radio. There was that and Pump Up the Volume, and they were like a year apart from each other, and then
Yeah,
nobody made another one.
it's true. It's overlooked film. It's so, we brought it out it was a small film and we should have brought it out in the like January, February, but the producer was quite kind of insane and he wanted to bring it out for Christmas. So it's a dark film. It's such a
Feel
very
good,
dark, grim film. It's probably one of the grimmest I've made. So it
which is saying something.
didn't
Yeah.
receive much attention and it disappeared quickly. But thank you for. I think it's got a lot of. It's got strength and resonance.
Oh yeah. And I mean, it's interesting when you've made as many films as you have. Inevitably, someone's gonna like one more than the other, and like that just comes with the territory. And whether you're happy or not ultimately is more important. But you know, when you do that, when you have longevity, people inevitably like things that you don't expect. Obviously, some things,
Yeah.
you feel like, I'm sure, like Natural Born Killers, you're like, okay, this will find its audience. Maybe
Yeah.
it's not now, but it'll get there. But like in Any Given Sunday is like, okay, like guys in their teenage years are gonna find that movie because they like football. It's gonna work. But JFK is unique in that it always finds new people. Like that has been the success at the time and
Yeah.
continues to be success. And even you keep finding new things in it.
New causes. Yeah, my mind is active and I stay curious.
Yeah.
But it's true that also don't forget the strangest story of probably U-Turn because that really disappeared and that was another grim, dark, negative film. Wow, and it just vanished because the reviews were terrible and so forth. But it really has an audience because people come back to it.
Yeah.
It has a grim, dark humor.
It is also strange because you'll make, what someone would call an issue movie or something that is taking up a cause. And then eventually you'll get reviews that people will be like, well, I hope he would just make a movie next time. And then you'll make a U-turn or you'll make an A Given Sunday. They go, well, where's the issue? Why isn't he like picking at some wound? And
Can't win. You
Yeah.
can't win. You're right about one thing. You have to make it for the long term and you have to make it for yourself too. So, because honestly, it's all over the place. You can never predict. Never. There was one, I've been writing a second book in my spare time. And one reviewer in England, very bright, smart guy who's very respected, he was going on how much he hated every one of my films. And out of the blue, he said, but I love Natural Born Killers. It was
got
so,
one.
it was, you can't win,
Yeah.
It's
But
extreme.
at the same time, you at least hope that when they don't like something, they have a reason. Like it's the people who just don't like. They're like, well, that's weird and like shouldn't bother me because there's no like logic behind it, but that's the one that would bother me. If somebody has a laundry list of grievances, you can go like, well, I disagree with 90% of them, but he might be right about that one. So all right, it is like you also have the benefit of going, sure, but also I've seen how much money I've made over the years. I've got a couple of Oscars back there. Like there has been a metric that says I've done a good job. So sure, have at it. It's fair game.
Yeah. That's, listen, I think it's a game. I think people love to go to movies. Part of the reason is that they love to say, I love this and I hated that. But love and hate are such strong words that they're not really substantial. I mean, you really appreciate a film or you over time or you don't. I mean, it's not like love is a big word because a movie goes into your consciousness, comes out.
Totally.
You can see the most inspiring thing in the world. Oh, it's peaceful. And then you go out and you go back to your war.
Yeah.
It
Which is
doesn't.
literally what's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, but it is unique, I think, with JFK because it is
No.
getting at something important. It's getting at something that you're passionate about. It's important with a capital I, but it's also wildly entertaining. It's made with like every filmmaking tool in the book. Like it's very much a movie that I've never seen done again. in that it's doing something for the greater good, but with all the style of look at me, come on, take your family. Like this should be a movie you watch on Friday night, but also you should think about it all weekend long.
Yeah, well, there's no reason that can't be the case for all movies.
Yeah.
I mean, frankly, that's what you hope for. I touched a nerve because I guess I didn't realize because I was younger how deep a nerve that the John Kennedy created in this country. You realize when he was killed, he was really hated by a lot of people too, and he was also loved. And there was that division, and that's a division we still see in America if you come to think of it.
Oh, yeah.
If you could probably take the lines along who hated Kennedy, who admired Kennedy and loved him, and you could probably find that division still in this country.
Oh yeah, as a kid, you don't know about that. You know that like he was young and he died, and like he was, there was an optimism and there was a sense of missed opportunity. That's about as far as you get. And when
That's important. That's very important. You remember that because that is you can widen that argument out. Yeah, that optimism. Where did that go? And you have to think, what did he do? And then when you really get into it, and that's what we did in this 2-hour and the 4-hour, we went back and we said, well, okay, we have to explain what he was doing in his foreign and domestic. We made a real attempt to make it clearer than ever.
Well, what I'm interested in also is in watching all of these, revisiting the film and expanding upon the film. How do you find new things? Because it feels like at the time you had uncovered so much. Like, how are you as a person that people should know and be like on the lookout for almost? How are you able to still find the things? It's fascinating.
When you make a dramatic film, you have to keep it moving, and you have it was done as a thriller. Let's be honest. So you have to keep it intense. What's going to happen next? And of course, we kind of know what's going to happen next, but it's not that simple. And what we do is we dig for motivations. Who would kill him? Why? Who benefits?
Yeah.
And these are the questions we tried to answer as we went along.
Yeah.
And it's the same answers we provided pretty much back then in 1991, but we're going back now into the factual scholarship issues of his administration and saying, look, there is foundations for everything we're saying.
Yeah, because I'd always kind of bristled when I'd heard the main not the main complaint, but a complaint about like, oh, well, he's trying to tell you how to think. And I always felt like you want people to think about it. Like, it doesn't matter if you agree with the thesis. As long as you're on board with the idea that this wasn't cut and dry and something happened, whatever you think might have happened, go with it, because that's what you're doing. You're following an instinct as much as fact in the movie.
I think you represent the audience. I can't tell you how to think. That's the worst thing you can do, because I can see, you wear a T-shirt, you root for the Mets, who I never fucking rooted for in my life.
Yeah. Listen, it means I don't get to be happy. It's what it means.
You can never agree with everybody, and you don't expect him to. No, it's not my way. It's my way is maybe I'm too strong in stating things, but I put everything through the eyes of the protagonist. For example, Kevin Costner is the DA, and he states his point of view, which reflects accurately the real life Jim Garrison. That's what he thought, and I put it in his mouth. Whereas in Richard Nixon, who was not an attractive character to me at all, but when I did his movie with Anthony Hopkins, I walked in his shoes, and I felt what he was feeling, and the betrayal, the sense of being overwhelmed. Why do they hate me so? That kind of thing. That's what I get behind the protagonist. Same thing with George Bush, W. Bush, who is my least favorite president, probably the worst president we've ever had, next to maybe Franklin Pierce, who was his ancestor, by the way, one of the ancestors of his mother. But you see, I mean, that nobody understands. How can Stone make a movie sympathetic to Bush? It wasn't sympathetic; it was empathetic.
Yeah,
big difference.
Oh, yeah.
No, I couldn't agree with anything that Bush did.
You can want to get at the root of like, well, was there a why, or is there a how, or what's the because? Like but that's the thing. I think you have a skill that it can be, whether it is Nixon, Bush, JFK, Edward Snowden, like even just like guys stuck in the rubble of 9/11, like giving them all the same, I want their story. And whether it's something I agree or disagree with, that's one part, but also the human being aspect of, I can hate Nixon, I can hate W, but there's something about them as a human being that I'm fascinated with, and like
Well,
that's
hate's a
what you
strong
want to have a
word. I can-
conversation about.
I can despise Bush, despise him, not hate him,
Yeah.
because actually I met him and he's a very charming and nice guy. You'd sit there and you can bullshit with him all day. Same thing with Nixon, maybe not so much, but
He'd be looking over his shoulder too much during it. But I mean, my favorite thing during one of Obama's books was saying, like, you know, so much of my interactions coming up was yelling about W, but you meet him, and as long as you talk about like your kids, the weather, and baseball, he's lovely.
yeah.
But you know, some people don't have the ability to do that, and some people don't have the ability to watch a movie that doesn't do that.
I know. I'd get a bigger audience if they did.
Exactly. But I think it's something to say, like, as we wrap up, that the things you do are still relevant and vital. And the fact that there is an interest in putting out this additional content and exploring that question, that there is something beyond, oh, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's the fact that this was a part of America that we lost, and we're still kind of trying to find it.
Sure.
And you doing the looking, I think, is vital.
Well, it comes down to the very day. I mean, the fact is that after his presidency, not one president has veered from that course. No one has challenged our military goals and our budgets, and no one has challenged the intelligence agencies. And that's a shame, because they essentially closed up, took over that portion of the government that belongs to us, that for us to decide what our policies are going to be. So that's gone, and every one of them, all the 10 presidents, how many are there that followed him? Same line, same obeisance to the military. It's not healthy, and
No.
it's not going to end well.
No,
Hopefully it'll end before I die.
I mean, I may not be in luck, but at least you're fighting the good fight, and we all can try. And I know you have other ones to do now, but I really do appreciate this. And like I said, like,
Well, listen, I wish every interview were as nice as you are.
Listen, I try. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye, Joe.
Take care.